If you struggle with clean position shifts with your fretting hand, this video is for you. I'm going to outline a practice method that'll help you to clean up those position shifts and make them as transparent as possible with anything that you're experiencing the problem with, be it a lick, a chord progression, or anything at all. So let's dive in. The key to getting a clean position shift really comes down to two notes. The last note of whatever lick or phrase you're playing that occurs before the shift is required, and the first note of the shift after it's been performed. So the connection between the last note that you play right before the shift and the first note you're going to play after the shift, that is the part you want to get at. I've seen a lot of players spend a lot of time playing an entire riff or lick or phrase or whatever over and over and over again, trying to clean up the position shift, and quite frankly blowing through the whole thing and ignoring the actual spots where it occurs. So using that example I just played in the intro there, let's take the first little part here. It's we're in G minor, and I'm basically just playing 3 note per string, groups of 6 here. So I'm playing G, A, B flat, which will be on the 4th string. We're going to do 5, 7, and 8, and then we're going to do 5, 7, 8 on the 3rd string, and that'll give us that'll give us C, D, and E flat. So just straight up 6 notes. The next thing we're going to play is our pinky going from the 8th fret to the 12th fret, and we're going to do a descending 6-note figure. G, F, E flat, D, C, B flat, or in this case fret-wise 12, 10, 8 on both strings. So ascending 6 notes, shift, descending 6 notes, and in and of themselves each portion of that may not be the problem at all. It may very well be the last note you play in part 1 into the first note of what you're going to play in part 2. Here's how I would work on it. First of all, I kind of do 2 things here. I would play the first 6 notes and then land on the 7th note, or the first note of the next portion, because that is the problem area right there. So it might look like this. Now, it's not just a matter of just shifting and stopping. That's what it's going to look like to most players. But what's going on under the hood is what's really important, and that's what you're thinking about. What I do when I'm playing this is I'm using my ears, I'm engaging my listening to tell me whether I've moved from the 8 to the 12 cleanly. The other thing that I'm thinking about when doing this is, if you watch my finger position, I'm moving my pinky to another pinky note, but watch what happens with my other fingers. Watch what happens to my fretting hand in general. Notice that I'm not affecting these other fingers. I'm using my arm to move me there. I see a lot of players, what they'll do, and I don't think they're aware that they're doing it, but what I see is they'll play the first 6 notes, and it looks like they try to slide or throw their pinky here. And look what happens to the left hand fingers when that happens. You end up with this mess. And that is usually a function of someone trying to use their wrist. Notice my arm, this area right here. Notice it doesn't move. If I were to do that, I'm using my wrist to get there, but that puts my other fingers at a disadvantage. So even if I did manage to get there, to the 12th fret cleanly, the rest of it might fall apart because my hand is no longer in an optimal position. So make position shifts a function of your arm, not your fingers. notice my left hand position is basically the exact same as it was down here, but bigger movements require bigger muscles, bigger joints. So to move from 8 to 12 is a big jump. So I'm going to use my arm to take care of that. The wrist is a smaller joint, smaller muscle groups. That's not really the function of its function isn't for sliding and shifting. So number one, if you're having trouble with this, make sure that you're not doing that. Make sure you're not using your wrist to get you to the new area. Make sure it's your arm. And try to keep the other fingers as unaffected as you can. It's a little tricky at first, but that's why at first you're going to need to do what a golfer would do before they hit, right? The best golfers on the planet, what do? They always do those slow practice shots before they actually do the real thing. Kind of like that. That will put you in the prime position to be able to play the next 6 notes. Right. If you really want to get to the heart of it, you can actually do something that kind of looks and sounds a little ridiculous, but I believe it'll get right to the point even better, and that is literally just practicing the shift with the fingers that are involved. In this case, my pinky for both. Now, what I'm looking for there is I want a clean handoff from one note to another. I don't want you, the listener, to hear the shift. I don't want you to hear it. If you weren't looking at me, I would want you to think, oh, he just moved to the next string, or he just, moved to the next note. I don't want you to think that there's a huge jump. If I did this, right? That's cool. I mean, that's an effect in and of itself, but the effect should be there because you want it, not because you have no choice. Right? So to do this, I don't want you to know that it's a shift. That's my problem. I don't want that to be the listener problem. So what I'll do sometimes is I'll just isolate the 2 notes themselves, get right to it, and work on a seamless transition between the notes, a handoff, like a relay race, where you hand the baton to the next one without dropping it. If you can do that, you're probably going to be fine when you plug it into the full lick. Check it out, let me know what you think of this, and I've got something else for this kind of topic coming your way very soon.